Welcome to Silent Crime Case, the podcast where we uncover the dark truths behind some of the most chilling crimes in history. Today we bring you the tragic story of a man whose rise to power was cut short by a murder that rocked an entire community. In Ridgeview, California, a quiet desert town surrounded by vast stretches of barren land, the body of William Hartman, a real estate mogul, was discovered in November 2002. This case would expose secrets no one could have anticipated, secrets of love, betrayal, and bitter revenge. William Hartman was a man who seemingly had it all: wealth, influence, and a thriving career that made him the envy of many. He had transformed Ridgeview from a small, sleepy desert town into a booming real estate hub. But, as we'll discover today, behind the success story was a life tangled in deceit and hidden relationships. When William was found murdered in his own stable, it sent shockwaves through Ridgeview, leaving friends, family, and colleagues to grapple with a horrifying reality. What happened that fateful night? And who had the motive to kill this powerful man? As we unravel the complex web surrounding William's death, we'll expose the dark truths that had been hiding just beneath the surface. Stay with us as we piece together this chilling case, following every lead and every clue, from the initial investigation to the final shocking confession. William Hartman was 53 years old at the time of his death. A tall man with a commanding presence, William's personality matched the grandiose nature of the properties he developed. His real estate ventures had earned him a fortune, and his lavish lifestyle reflected that success. His sprawling ranch on the outskirts of Ridgeview was the epitome of luxury, a far cry from the modest home he had grown up in. But wealth didn't shield William from personal struggles. William's ex-wife, Catherine Hartman, was 39 years old when the couple finalized their divorce. A shrewd marketing consultant with a reputation for her icy demeanor, Catherine had a way of controlling situations to her advantage. Their marriage had been a turbulent one, marked by numerous accusations of infidelity. William had long suspected Catherine of cheating on him with several partners, both during their marriage and even after they separated. Despite their bitter divorce, Catherine had walked away with a hefty financial settlement, a fact that would later become crucial in the investigation into William's murder. Catherine was known for her ability to mask her emotions, and though she appeared calm on the surface, friends knew there was always more going on behind her cold exterior. Then there was Michael Donovan, William's longtime business partner and close friend. Michael, 49, was just as ambitious as William, though perhaps more ruthless. While they had worked together for years, rumors had started to circulate about cracks in their professional relationship. Financial disputes, jealousy, and personal tensions were just a few of the issues plaguing their partnership. But it wasn't just business that tied William and Michael together. Whispers around town suggested that the two men shared a secret relationship, one that had been kept hidden from the public eye. Those who knew them best hinted that their friendship had evolved into something far more complex and far more dangerous. As we'll soon uncover, the dynamics between these three characters would play a pivotal role in the events leading up to William's death. On the morning of November 15, 2002, Ridgeview's serenity was shattered when Michael Donovan discovered the lifeless body of William Hartman. It was a scene of stark horror that unfolded in the stable of William's ranch. William lay face down on the cold, hard floor, a single bullet wound to his chest. His blood had pooled beneath him, staining the stone floor of the stable. It was clear from the outset that this had been no accident. Michael, in shock, immediately called 911, his voice trembling as he tried to explain what he had found. Within minutes, the once quiet ranch was swarming with police officers and emergency personnel. The flashing lights of their vehicles illuminated the desert landscape, turning the peaceful ranch into a crime scene. As investigators began their work, they noted the lack of signs of a struggle. There were no broken locks, no shattered windows, nothing to indicate that William had fought off an attacker. This led police to believe that whoever had killed William had been someone he knew, someone he trusted enough to let get close to him. The gun used to kill William was discovered not far from the stable, discarded in a nearby gully. It had been hastily buried under dirt and leaves, but the forensic team found it quickly and sent it off for analysis. In the meantime, detectives began interviewing those closest to William, starting with Michael and William's ex-wife, Catherine. Rumors were already swirling throughout Ridgeview. Some speculated that William's murder was the result of a business deal gone wrong, while others whispered about more personal motives. Could this have been a crime of passion? Or had someone orchestrated William's death for financial gain? Detective Rachel Porter, a seasoned investigator with years of experience in solving high-profile murder cases, was assigned to lead the investigation. Known for her keen attention to detail and relentless pursuit of the truth, Rachel wasted no time in assembling her team and getting to work. The murder of William Hartman was not just a local tragedy, it was quickly becoming a media sensation, and the pressure was on to solve the case as soon as possible. The first person Rachel questioned was Michael Donovan, the man who had discovered William's body. Michael appeared shaken, but as the interview progressed, Rachel couldn't help but notice inconsistencies in his story. Michael admitted that he and William had been arguing over business deals in the weeks leading up to the murder. They had built a successful real estate empire together, but recently, financial disputes had caused tension between them. Michael claimed that the arguments had been nothing more than business disagreements, but Rachel wasn't convinced. As Rachel dug deeper into Michael's background, she uncovered troubling details about his relationship with William. While their business partnership had always appeared solid, it became clear that their personal relationship had been far more complicated. Friends of the two men hinted at a romantic connection between them, one that had been kept secret from everyone else. Could their falling out have been over more than just business? Rachel began to suspect that jealousy and betrayal might have played a role in William's murder. Next, Rachel turned her attention to Catherine Hartman, William's ex-wife. Catherine had been living in the shadow of their turbulent marriage for years, and the bitterness from their divorce still lingered. Catherine had walked away with a large financial settlement, and many in Ridgeview believed she had manipulated the situation to her advantage. Catherine's cold, calculating demeanor made her a prime suspect, and when Rachel questioned her, she noticed that Catherine was unusually calm for someone whose ex-husband had just been murdered. Catherine denied any involvement in William's death, but her alibi for the night of the murder was weak. She claimed to have been home alone, but there was no one to corroborate her story. Rachel knew that Catherine had the motive. She had gained a significant amount of money from the divorce, and William's death would ensure she kept it all. But was that enough to drive her to murder? Catherine's history of manipulation and deceit made her an intriguing suspect, but there were still too many unanswered questions. As the investigation pressed forward, Detective Rachel Porter decided to focus on one crucial element that hadn't been fully explored: Catherine Hartman's behavior in the weeks leading up to William's death. Investigators began speaking to Catherine's close circle of friends, former colleagues, and even her personal assistant, hoping to uncover more about her state of mind. What they found was startling. Several individuals mentioned that Catherine had grown increasingly erratic and resentful in the months following the divorce. One former colleague recalled an incident where Catherine had vented about William, stating that he had ruined her life, and that she would make him pay for everything he had done. Although these statements could be written off as emotional venting, they painted a picture of a woman deeply bitter and angry. Catherine, despite her outwardly calm demeanor, harbored a strong desire for revenge, especially when it came to her financial settlement. What made things even more suspicious was Catherine's sudden withdrawal from public life shortly before William's murder. A once highly social and visible figure, she had begun to retreat, canceling appearances at charity functions and declining invitations to industry events. Friends noticed that she had become reclusive, spending more time alone at her home and rarely engaging with others. This behavior shift only added to the growing suspicion surrounding her. During her second round of questioning, Rachel pressed Catherine on these recent behaviors, asking her why she had withdrawn from her usual social circles. Catherine's response was calculated, as always. "I was tired of dealing with the gossip and whispers," she said, brushing off the question. "After everything I've been through, I needed some time to myself," but Rachel wasn't convinced. There was a deeper motive behind Catherine's actions, something that went beyond simply needing space. Was Catherine planning something all along? Was she waiting for the right moment to strike? As detectives looked into Catherine's financial records, they found something unexpected. Catherine had recently made a significant withdrawal from one of her investment accounts just a few days before William's death. The amount was large enough to raise red flags, leading investigators to question where the money had gone. When asked about the withdrawal, Catherine claimed it had been to cover personal expenses, though the timing seemed too coincidental to be innocent. Detective Porter began to wonder if Catherine had used the money to hire someone to kill William, or perhaps to cover her tracks in another way. With this new information, the investigation took a darker turn. Catherine's potential involvement, whether direct or indirect, became a focal point, While no clear evidence had yet emerged linking her directly to the crime, her actions painted a picture of a woman who was far from innocent. The interrogation room was thick with tension as Detective Rachel Porter questioned Catherine Hartman for the second time. Catherine, dressed immaculately in a tailored suit, sat composed, her face betraying no emotion. She had been through police interrogations before, during her bitter divorce from William, and she knew how to play the game. Rachel started by asking Catherine about her relationship with William in the months leading up to his death. Catherine's voice was calm as she described the final stages of their divorce. She admitted that their marriage had been a stormy one, filled with accusations and betrayals on both sides. But when Rachel pressed her about the financial settlement, Catherine became defensive. "Catherine, you walked away from the divorce with a substantial sum of money," Rachel said, leaning forward. "But that's not the whole story, is it? You weren't happy with what you got, were you?" Catherine's eyes flickered for a moment, a crack in her calm exterior. "I got what was rightfully mine," she replied coolly. "I earned that money after years of putting up with William's lies and infidelity." "And yet, William was about to cut you off completely," Rachel continued. "If he had lived, he would have made sure you didn't see another cent." Catherine's lips tightened, but she didn't respond. Rachel knew she was getting closer to the truth, but there was still no concrete evidence linking Catherine to the murder. Meanwhile, Michael Donovan's interrogation was taking a very different turn. Unlike Catherine, Michael was visibly shaken. His hands trembled as he spoke, and his voice cracked under the weight of the questions. Detective Porter knew that Michael was hiding something, and she was determined to find out what. "Michael, you and William had been arguing a lot lately," Rachel said. "Financial disagreements, personal issues. What really happened between you two?" Michael's eyes darted around the room, avoiding Rachel's gaze. "We had our differences," he admitted. "But I would never hurt him. He was my best friend." "Your best friend?" Rachel asked, raising an eyebrow. "Or something more?" "We've heard rumors, Michael. People are saying that you and William were involved in a relationship. A romantic one." Michael froze, his face draining of color. For a moment, the room was silent. Then, with a deep sigh, Michael spoke. "We were close," he said quietly. "But it wasn't what people think. We were just trying to keep our business running. Things got complicated, that's all." Rachel knew there was more to the story, but she also knew that Michael wasn't ready to tell her everything. Not yet. While the emotional interrogations continued, the forensic team working on William Hartman's murder case made several key discoveries that would turn the investigation on its head. The gun found in the gully, initially thought to be untraceable, yielded a critical piece of evidence, Michael Donovan's fingerprints. This was the first major breakthrough in the case. The forensic team had dusted the gun for prints and analyzed the partial fingerprint left on the weapon. After several tests, they were able to match it to Michael Donovan. The discovery sent shockwaves through the investigation team. Michael had been the one to find William's body, and now it appeared that he might also be the one responsible for pulling the trigger. Detective Porter immediately called Michael in for questioning. This time the evidence was on her side, and she wasn't going to let Michael walk away without giving her the answers she needed. "Michael, we found your fingerprints on the gun," Rachel said bluntly. "Care to explain how that happened?" Michael's face turned pale, and his hands shook as he realized the gravity of the situation. "I don't know how, that's not possible," he stammered. "I didn't touch the gun." "We both know that's a lie," Rachel replied, her voice cold. "We've got the evidence, Michael. The gun, the prints, and your alibi, it's all falling apart." Michael looked down at his hands, his voice barely a whisper. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was an accident." Rachel leaned forward, her eyes fixed on Michael. "Tell me what happened that night, Michael. Tell me the truth." As Michael's confession began to unfold, the full extent of his relationship with William Hartman was revealed. What had started as a close business partnership had, over the years, developed into something far more personal. Michael and William had been involved in a romantic relationship, one that they had kept hidden from everyone around them. This revelation shocked the community of Ridgeview. The town had always seen William as a powerful, straight-laced businessman, but now the truth was coming to light. His relationship with Michael had been fraught with tension, particularly in the months leading up to his murder. According to Michael, William had decided to end their relationship. He wanted to dissolve their business partnership and move on with his life, both professionally and personally. This decision had devastated Michael, who had come to rely on William for both emotional and financial support. As their relationship deteriorated, so did Michael's mental state. On the night of the murder, Michael had gone to William's ranch to confront him. The argument quickly escalated, and in a moment of rage, Michael grabbed the gun from William's desk and followed him into the stable. What happened next was a blur of anger and desperation. In a split-second decision, Michael pulled the trigger, killing the man he had once loved. "I didn't mean to kill him," Michael sobbed as he recounted the events of that night. "I just wanted to talk, to work things out. But he wouldn't listen. He told me it was over, that he was done with me." Detective Porter listened intently as Michael poured out his confession. The tragic story of love, betrayal, and murder had finally come to an end. But for the people of Ridgeview, the wounds left by William Hartman's death would take much longer to heal. Michael's confession brought the investigation to its dramatic climax. With the forensic evidence, his fingerprints on the gun, and the revelation of their secret relationship, there was no longer any doubt about what had happened. Michael Donovan had killed William Hartman in a fit of jealous rage, unable to accept the end of their relationship. But even with Michael's confession, the case was far from over. Detective Porter knew that she had to make sure every detail of the case was airtight before it went to trial. She worked closely with the forensic team, reviewing every piece of evidence to ensure there were no gaps in the story. As the confession was made public, the media descended on Ridgeview once again. The story of William Hartman's murder had already made headlines, but now, with the added element of a secret relationship and a confession of love gone wrong, it became a national sensation. Reporters from across the country flocked to the small desert town, eager to get the latest updates on the case. Michael was officially charged with second-degree murder, and his trial was set to begin in the coming months. In the meantime, the town of Ridgeview struggled to come to terms with what had happened. William Hartman, the man who had brought prosperity to their community, was gone, and the truth about his life had shattered the perfect image many had held of him. For Detective Porter, the case had been one of the most challenging of her career. But with Michael's confession, she knew that justice would be served. The story of William Hartman's murder would go down in history as one of the most shocking crimes to ever take place in Ridgeview. The trial of Michael Donovan for the murder of William Hartman was a spectacle that captivated not only Ridgeview, but the entire country. The courtroom was packed with journalists, curious locals, and family members of both the victim and the accused. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Paul Hughes, meticulously laid out the case against Michael. They presented the forensic evidence, including the fingerprints on the gun, as well as Michael's own confession, which was played for the jury in a powerful moment that left the courtroom in stunned silence. Paul Hughes didn't hold back as he described the events that had led to William Hartman's death. He painted a picture of a man consumed by jealousy, unable to accept the end of his relationship with William. Hughes argued that Michael had gone to the ranch that night with the intent to confront William, but when the argument escalated, his emotions had gotten the better of him. He couldn't let go, Hughes told the jury. Michael Donovan was so blinded by his feelings for William Hartman that he took the one thing he couldn't bear to lose William's life. The defense, however, tried to argue that the crime had been an accident. Michael's attorney, Lisa Harper, claimed that Michael had not intended to kill William, but that the gun had gone off during a heated argument. She pointed to Michael's long-standing relationship with William as evidence that he would never have intentionally harmed him. Michael loved William, Harper argued. This was not premeditated murder. It was a tragic accident born out of a moment of emotional turmoil. But despite the defense's efforts, the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for 3 days before returning with a verdict, guilty of second-degree murder. As the verdict was read, Michael sat silently, his face pale and drawn. He had known from the moment he confessed that this day would come, but hearing the words spoken aloud made the reality of his situation sink in. Michael was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For the people of Ridgeview, the trial brought some sense of closure, but the damage had already been done. William Hartman was gone, and the truth about his life and death had forever changed the town. The aftermath of William Hartman's murder left a lasting impact on the town of Ridgeview. Once a symbol of prosperity and growth, the town's reputation was now tied to the tragic events that had unfolded on William's ranch. The real estate empire that William had built began to crumble without his leadership, and many of the luxurious properties he had developed were left abandoned. For Catherine Hartman, life after the trial was anything but easy. Although she had been cleared of any involvement in her ex-husband's death, the stigma of the case followed her wherever she went. She eventually moved out of Ridgeview, hoping to start fresh in a new town where the shadow of William's murder wouldn't loom over her. Michael Donovan, now serving his life sentence, spent his days reflecting on the choices that had led him to that fateful night. He had lost everything: his freedom, his business, and the man he had loved. In prison, Michael kept to himself, avoiding contact with other inmates and focusing on the memories of the life he once had. The town of Ridgeview tried to move on, but the memory of William Hartman's murder lingered. For many, the case served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the dark secrets that can lie hidden behind the most successful facades. The once booming real estate market in Ridgeview slowed to a crawl, and the town's economy suffered as a result. But for those who had known William personally, the pain of his loss was much deeper. And so we come to the end of this tragic story of love, betrayal, and murder. The murder of William Hartman is a case that will be remembered for years to come, not just for the crime itself, but for the shocking revelations that followed. What do you think about the events of that night? Was justice truly served, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Silent Crime Case for more real-life murder mysteries. Join us next time as we uncover another chilling true crime story that will leave you questioning the truth behind even the most innocent-seeming lives. Until then, stay safe, true crime solvers. Remember, sometimes the people closest to us can hold the darkest secrets.